A big thank you to Jero for sponsoring today's video on Patreon.
Olbika, Splitter of Seconds, versus SRAM, Hapatra, and Runo. Two-lander isn't the best, but don't have all our colours either. If we're desperate, we could name Goblin for Dockside and hope for some more colours into Solemn, and it's a bit weird, but we'll keep it. Expedition map for Hapatra, and we get into a Tricycle land for our colours. That's really good, so not being punished for this hand just yet. Ominous Seas from Runo, and Expedition map being cracked here, searching out a Gaia's Cradle. Look forward to it. The first Commander SRAM coming down on turn 2. Alright, another land for us, so yeah, we're looking pretty good here now. It's still pretty slow, but maybe we can go for Virtual Persistence onto that SRAM. Although with the Gaia's Cradle, I'm leaning more towards Hapatra, to be honest. Island cycling on the Tidal Terror, so getting a tap land in here. So as we would expect, Hapatra into play. I'll hold off on the Virtual Persistence and see if SRAM makes us worry at all. Okay, SRAM going straight through to combat. Do we want to punish him for swinging in at us? I probably wouldn't have done anyway, but he goes in towards Runo. Oh, actually, I'm just remembering, this is a sorcery anyway. Whoops. Well, we can do it next turn. I don't think I want to play out a Sword of Fire and Ice and not have anything to equip it to. And there is a Council's Judgment, so we're making the white player get rid of the Hapatra for us. So in that case, we can use Virtual Persistence on the SRAM. Playing a bit slower is going to reward us here. Okay, the Ominous Seas didn't go down there either, which is surprising. And we see a Court of Ire, so the first of that cycle in the deck. I think we've only got 3 of those. Said in the deck tech that I do plan to spread out the different mechanics in this deck. Locthwain Scorn onto the SRAM. And then the Dimir player just passing straight through the turn with a full grip of 7, always ominous. And only 2 mana for the Hapatra player. Does have an Arcane Signet though. Now if there's a Plains here, we can see the SRAM Senior Edificer again. Alright, does get a 4th land down, but instead decides on Weathered Wayfarer. Maybe doesn't want to play it into the open blue mana. Alright, another land. We've been very lucky with these, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. So, I'll play out the... It'd be funny to drop the Cavern of Souls on the blue player, and then just get down our commander, but there's every chance he's got spot removal as well. We've got no means of taking advantage of upkeeps anyway, so Sulphurous Springs. If we can get the blue player to waste his turn holding up counters for us, then obviously that could be good. But we'll attempt a Solemn Simulacrum, try and keep the mana up. Might even take another turn off next turn and go Sword of Fire and Ice and try and get into some more relevant stuff. Probably a good idea to get this down though. So now seeing what Runo was holding up. It was a Malcolm... Can't even read it because of the stupid artwork. Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel. That's the one where it deals combat damage to a player, chorus counter on it, draw, then discard. And then you can cast the discarded card without paying its mana cost if it's got 4 chorus counters. So I think I played this one in 1v1 for a bit. Going over towards SRAM. Got a couple of shockable targets with the Sword of Fire and Ice. Now thanks to the loot effect, does manage to get another counter on the Ominous Seas. So halfway there with that. Roaming Throne, going to double up the triggers. And discarded to the loot effect. That is a 5/6 Serpent, so yeah, is it just commons that our opponent's gone for? Like common sea creatures? Anyway, a Necro Skitter is a good one. And switches the Gaia's Cradle back on, so might be able to get down Hapatra next turn. Pure Steel Paladin, another scary one. Seen some good creatures dotted about here, might have to shock that with a Sword of Fire and Ice, because I don't think we'll be able to keep the Monarch if we get it into play with this. Although we get 2 damage to this during an upkeep. Playing a Sword of Truth and Justice into it, which cantrips with the Pure Steel Paladin, so we'll be able to keep up on the lands. 5 for 5 on those so far. More chance of drawing into lands, I mean. Always has the Weathered Wayfarer to try and keep up on those if needs be. Unless he's like us and just keeps drawing into them regardless. Right, so do we want Sword of Fire and Ice or the Court of Ire? We could get 4 treasure from a Dockside, but the Dockside is going to be really good the more equipment coming over here. We could draw a card by blocking with Solemn as well, but that does open the play up to anyone else to take the monarchy away from us, so do we just keep the body? Play Underground Sea. Getting haste on our commander would be ideal, but that's not necessarily going to happen anytime soon. Play the Court of Ire. Suppose I could have played Obika and then tried to get it through next turn. And if I thought I had a chance of getting it through, then play this first. Suppose that might have been an idea. So we do draw a card at the end of the turn, thanks to being the monarch. And there's a rousing refrain, very good. So with our commander, it only has 2 power, I think. Yeah, 2 power, so even if we could hit next turn, which isn't likely, we wouldn't remove all the counters from this. So we're still setting up quite a bit here. This now has 5 on it. Although next turn we could look at the Twilight Prophet as well. And that could start draining our opponents. A Storm Surge Kraken is a good one. As long as you control your commander, +2/+2, and when it becomes blocked you can draw 2. Runo still in the command zone though. Noteworthy that the chosen creature type was Kraken with this as well. So the Looter swinging in at the SRAM. And it's likely that the Pure Steel Paladin is going to have protection from blue and white next turn. Ignoring the Monarchy, which is surprising. So it might be that we keep this during our next turn, because the Wither creature might not be able to, or might not want to swing in towards us. Looting away an invasion of Segovia. That would have made a couple of Krakens. Yeah, and then against the Solemn, he might not want to give this up, even if he doesn't mind swinging in at us with this, so maybe it's worth getting rid of Solemn to keep hold of the Monarchy for another turn. But whenever we swing in with our commander and hit, which we always want to, we're going to get the Monarchy back anyway, so it doesn't necessarily matter. A Zulaport Cutthroat makes the Guy's Cradle tap for 2. Missing lands over there though, setting up nicely. Lots of good cards here. A Nest of Scarabs is going to need his commander most likely, although could just be setting up with, yeah, Nest of Scarabs, a Necro Skitter, maybe a Black Sun Zenith is on the way. Black Sun Zenith, he could only put 3 into X though. A SRAM's Expertise makes some artifact tokens, which makes our Dockside Extortionist better, followed by a free Sword of Hearth and Home. I always forget that that cycle gets a free spelling. So drawing a card with the Pure Steel Paladin, 3 cards in hand, and can still equip, because the equip costs are free, with Metalcraft. Sword of the Animist, a really good one as well, especially with a free equip and a cantrip. So SRAM doing some work here. Still won't be able to take the Monarchy away from us and get through a Solemn though. So I think we will block here, and I'll point removal at this. Doesn't have protection from red yet. So a 7/7 pro white, blue and green. And turns in at the player who's been targeting him, the Runo. So we're being ignored, which I can't say I mind. And he'll get a couple of lands here thanks to Hearth and Home and the Animist. Doesn't have anything decent to flicker though, unless he wants to untap this thing. Of course there's plus counter. Yeah, that might actually have him dodge the Court of Ire if he puts a plus counter on the Pure Steel Paladin. Instead deciding on the Weathered Wayfarer, alright, might be a mistake, and doesn't flicker this in order to untap it. Okay, so we're still the Monarch. Let me make sure that I get this right. Yeah, if you're the Monarch it deals 7 damage to any target instead, so straight onto the 7/7 please. So that goes down, and it may well be worth reanimating the Pure Steel Paladin at some point with this, because we do have equipment in the deck, as we've already seen a little bit of. Cavern of Souls, we'll name, don't think we've got any other Warlocks, but we'll name the class as opposed to the race, because I'm quietly confident we certainly don't have any Ogres. So if we were to go Talisman, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 mana. Then with the Dockside we go down to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Nice to have all that mana, but don't have haste for our commander, annoyingly. I think it's still worth going for the Dockside at this point though. Gives us more blockers at least. Alright, so 10 treasures from the Dockside. Means we've got 11 left over after the old beaker. 4 left over if we go for Virtue of Persistence, so we could just go Twilight Prophet in this. And Obika, yeah. See how long our commander survives. This is the problem with Obika, I don't imagine it's going to survive all that long whenever we play it. And I don't feel quite as bad getting down quite a few creatures into a Black Sun Zenith or something, as long as we've got the Virtue of Persistence left in play. Alright, so Twilight Prophet, we will gain the City's Blessing here because we've got plenty of permanents, so keep that for the rest of the game. I think it's only relevant to this card though. And we're just hoping that we keep this board intact through to our next turn, really. If Olbika goes down, do we leave it in the bin, ready for being fished out with Virtue of Persistence? Probably not worth the risk. Draw another card to the Monarch, because somehow we've kept hold of that. Alright, we've got a land to make next turn, so been pretty consistent with those, thankfully. Runo Stromkirk being played for the first time. So targeting the Tidal Terror with that. So they do have the mana value 6 or greater on top of the library at this point. And obviously this has been buffed up to a hexproof 7/7. And still ignoring our Monarchy, I mean I'm fine with it. Malcolm going into the right. 7/7 comes in towards us, doesn't have any kind of unblockable, does it now? So we can just throw away the Dockside and make more mana next turn if we want to. Let's just do that. So draw 2 cards twice because it's been blocked, and draws 2 cards twice because the trigger's double thanks to the Roaming Throne. Not doing incredibly on mana, but is going to start making an 8/8 Kraken token with this. A little bit of protection from board wipes. Ends up with 11 counters on it. Malcolm will loot as well, and has its penultimate counter placed onto it, so one more and that'll be a threat. Soul Snuffers, when it enters the battlefield, a minus counter on each creature, so we weren't far off with the Black Sun Zenith thing. He's going to kill off his own Zulaport Cutthroat with that though, unless it gets countered. Alright, there's a counter spell from the Dimir player. What did he discard to hand size there? Quest for Ula's Temple is pretty slow at this point. Tidal Terror went down again as well. Yeah, obviously he stacked the top card of his library previously to flip this round. It's going to be a bit of chance now as to whether or not he's got something big enough on top to transform that. Thanks to the card draw he's just received, but does end the turn with 6 cards in hand. And as it stands now, we're going to have protection from blue against Runo, meaning that Olbika will be able to get through with the Menace, because it won't be able to be blocked by just the Roaming Throne, so we can get through at the moment. SRAM Senior Edificer in again. No free equips thanks to us being able to take this down. Alright, and there's a Sword of Body and Mind, still no protection from red or black. And milling people might not be the best idea when we've got this thing in play. Equipping the Sword of Truth and Justice. Not sure why he wants that sword over any of the others. I'm not sure which one I would go for personally. Suppose the protection from blue is the most relevant here. Does he want to try and go wide on us and take the Monarchy? Alright, amazingly we may well be able to actually do something with our commander on this next turn. So, Virtue of Persistence will definitely take our Dockside. We're hoping to get more triggers with this anyway. Twilight Prophet, gonna reveal something big for us. And then Court of Ire is 7 damage again. Do we want to spend, is it Ward 2? Could get rid of Roaming Throne. Could just point it at this before it gets too crazy, although 2 damage from the shock on the sword would be alright. Yeah, we're about to get a bunch of mana from Dockside. 1 less if we take this down though. But yeah, that'll be fine. So Ward goes on the stack when we target that, and we will of course pay for it. So that goes down. Twilight Prophet reveals something for us, and it will drain our opponents. Alright, a Sword of Feast and Famine. Protection from black, very nice. Means we may well just go down the middle. Dockside will come back off the Virtue. Oh, that player just decides to scoop. That's irritating. I'm glad I just got into protection from black. That's so annoying. I need to remember to block this player actually, because I may have just wasted my target with the Court of Ire. But definitely block this guy for that. So we get 9 treasure and draw into a Rhystic Study. Play a land for the turn. Just make that a Badlands, I think. Before anything, I think we definitely want to try and get pro-black going with the Sword of Feast and Famine. Play and equip the sword onto Olbika, and we'll tap down our lands to do it because the sword is about to untap them. It has now been equipped. So go for another land with the Bloodstained Mire. Oh, we can grab a Volcanic Island with that actually. Play the Sword of Fire and Ice. Equip Sword of Fire and Ice. Alright, and then let's go for the Rousing Refrain, suspend that for 2 mana, because we're about to get some upkeeps here. Assuming our opponents don't just quit on us straight away. Alright, there we are. So now go through to the attack phase, and we've got pro-black, so we obviously go into the left here. Won't bother swinging in with the flyer. And Obika is a 6/9, so we're going to get 6 upkeeps. So 6 times 7 is 42, so we'll put Obika on the stack first and do these other triggers. This player will have to discard. Sword of Fire and Ice can ping the Zulaport out of the way. And we may well have our opponents here. Zulaport drains us for 1 on its way out. Discards a Farseek to the sword. Alright, and Obika resolves, so I'm assuming it's after the damage phase that everything happens. We've untapped our lands. Please don't scoop SRAM because I want to actually see the stack. Alright, there we are. So, we're going to get 6 upkeeps here. There's the first one, Rousing Refrain, getting a counter removed. Virtue of Persistence will take the Pure Steel Paladin. We'd have a lot more graveyards to actually select from there, but our opponents actually don't play it out at all, so... yeah, we would have been able to take the Serpent, take some stuff from our opponents, including that Withered, not Withered, Wretch, the Zulaport Cutthroat. Would have had 7 damage on this 6 times, so would have taken at least 1 player out with that anyway. And then Twilight Prophet would have drawn us 6 cards there. So let's see if the client would show us 2 damage, 0, 1 damage, 5 damage, 0 damage. And 9 damage, so what's that? 15, 16, 17 damage off the Twilight Prophet. So I think we definitely had our opponents there anyway. It would have been nice if they played it out for a little bit to actually see the Obika go off there, but that's what happens when you leave her alone apparently. We were ignored for a decent length of that game, but it allowed us to show off what the commander can do in the end anyway. It's pretty much one shot and you win by the looks of it, so definitely need to keep an eye on her when she's at the table. If you want to see more from her, then be sure to let me know. Hopefully, players will actually play it out next time. I'm Tribal Kai. Thank you for watching.